Hello, this is Yvonne Duranier, the Chair of the Ecosystem Work Group of the Pacific Fishery Management Council. This presentation will brief you on the Ecosystem Work Group's report to the Council on Fishery Ecosystem Plan initiatives. The Council is scheduled to consider this issue on Friday, September 15, 2017, under Agenda Item I2. This presentation refers to a variety of documents available on the Council's website. When I speak about a document, the presentation will provide a link to that document at the bottom of the slide, like this link to the main Council website. There are 5 Council meetings per year, and the Council uses briefing materials at each meeting. The complete briefing book for the September 2017 Council meeting is available at the website shown at the bottom of this screen. As the meeting progresses, Council staff will add supplementary materials to that website, and they'll keep all briefing materials, reports, and public comments posted after the meeting so that we can all find them and use them later as needed. For this agenda item, I2, the scoping and selection of fishery ecosystem plan initiatives, briefing materials are in Section I, the ecosystem-based management portion of the Council's September 2017 agenda. The Council's Fishery Ecosystem Plan and that plan's appendix together include a process for the Council to consider new ecosystem initiatives at their March and September meetings in odd-numbered years, like 2017. Ecosystem initiatives are about big ideas that may affect Council activities under 2 or more fishery management plans. Our first initiative protected unfished West Coast forage species, and our second initiative reviewed and revised the annual California Current Ecosystem Status Report. At the Council's March 2017 meeting, the Council reviewed all of the potential ecosystem initiatives in the Fishery Ecosystem Plan Appendix and chose 3 for further review at this September 2017 meeting. The Council was interested in a potential ecosystem initiative on the effects of near-term climate shift and long-term climate change on West Coast fish stocks and fishing communities. This is described in Section A2.8 of the Fishery Ecosystem Plan Appendix. The Council was also interested in a potential ecosystem initiative on the effects of fisheries management on fishing communities. This is addressed generally in Section A27 of that appendix, and more specifically for the effects of fisheries management on recruitment of young and new fishermen in Section A26 of the appendix. For our advance report to this September 2017 meeting, the Ecosystem Work Group provided some background information for each of the 3 potential initiatives, so that the Council, its advisory bodies, and the public could think about how these initiatives might work and whether they might be useful to West Coast fisheries management. These initiatives are connected to each other and overlap in some ways, so our report begins with the most broad initiative, which is on climate, and then moves through another broad initiative on fishing communities, ending with the most specific initiative on human recruitment to the fisheries. The Cross-Fishery Management Plan Climate Shift Initiative is discussed in our report on pages 2 through 6. We provided a draft goal statement for the initiative on page 2 of our report so that readers would have a quick summary of what we thought might be accomplished through this initiative. The Ecosystem Work Group thought that this initiative should begin with a council-wide education process so that we can all better understand what the best available science tells us about climate shift and change within our own ecosystem, and how that might affect our fish stocks and fishing communities. We're suggesting that we start the initiative with a webinar series, similar to the Initiative 2 webinar series on ecosystem indicators. A climate initiative webinar series would get all of us up to date on fish stock vulnerability to climate change and on what's known about fishing community vulnerability to climate influences. The Council may wish to consider the information presented in the webinar series and any advisory body and public comments from the webinar series before proceeding further with this initiative, but we would recommend as a second step that the Council hold a scientific workshop to discuss how climate might affect overall productivity in the ecosystem, about how climate events might affect productivity of our managed stocks, and about how climate affects distribution of our managed stocks. Following the first workshop on the effects of climate on our fish stocks, a second scientific workshop could focus on fishing communities and their potential vulnerability to climate events. While this second workshop could provide information to the public on potential community vulnerabilities, it could also be a launching point for discussions between different fisheries participants on whether fisheries management programs need to change in order to better support communities that may be affected by near-term climate events and long-term climate change. Finally, the Ecosystem Workgroup anticipates that one benefit of this initiative could be a close look at Chapters 4 and 5 of the Fishery Ecosystem Plan, particularly Chapter 5, where the Council lays out its priorities for the ecosystem so that other federal agencies acting within the ecosystem can better support a future healthy California current ecosystem. On pages 6 through 9 of our report, the Ecosystem Workgroup discusses an initiative on the effects of fisheries management across all council-managed fisheries on West Coast fishing communities. This is another big picture initiative, and we provided a draft goal statement for the initiative at the bottom of page 6 of our report. Under this Communities Initiative, the Council would think about the interacting socioeconomic goals of its fishery management plans and would discuss whether and how well we're meeting those goals and how different fisheries management programs interact with each other to affect fishing communities. We suggest an initial discussion paper from the Ecosystem Workgroup and social scientists to help the Council frame its socioeconomic goals across its fishery management plans. This Communities Initiative would benefit from some good discussions about how fisheries management could support fishing communities and whether we need to modify any of our fisheries management programs to improve the effects of fisheries management on communities. Like the Climate Initiative, we suggest a public workshop to discuss how well fisheries management may be meeting the Council's combined socioeconomic goals for its management programs, and to ask for ideas from the Council's advisory bodies and the public about how we could better meet those goals. Results from the workshop, or more than one workshop if we want to ensure better geographic coverage, could help the Council consider how it might want to alter or fix different fishery management programs, so that we could do things like helping communities plan for the effects of climate change, altering regulations that inadvertently reduce safety in our fisheries, managing our fisheries to minimize the potential for fishery disasters, or reducing conflicts between state and federal fisheries management processes. By first identifying cross-fishery challenges, we'll get some more clear ideas of solutions as we proceed through this initiative. Pages 9 through 11 of our report address a more narrowly defined communities initiative focused on evaluating whether West Coast fisheries management creates disincentives for new and young people to join or advance in the fishing profession. Our draft goal statement for this initiative begins at the bottom of page 9 of our report. This initiative would need some advanced research from social scientists and the Ecosystem Workgroup to investigate whether council fisheries management deters new people from joining our fisheries. This initiative could build on current efforts under the Trawl Rationalization 5-year review, which includes some analyses of the age distribution of groundfish trawl fleet participants. The Council should also hear from fisheries participants on which West Coast fisheries are considered more entry-level fisheries and which require more advanced skills. And the Council should also hear information and ideas from the public about barriers to fishermen wanting to shift between fisheries. This issue of aging fishing fleet participants has gotten some national attention and attention from our colleagues in Alaska and British Columbia. If the Council decides that it does not want to take up this initiative at this meeting, it may still want to consider working with Washington, Oregon, and California Sea Grant offices on outreach to younger fishermen in West Coast communities. The Ecosystem Workgroup will be meeting before and concurrently with the Council's meeting on September 13 and 14 at the Riverside Hotel in Boise, Idaho. We'll be discussing these initiatives further, and our meeting is open to the public, so please come join us if you're available. Thank you for listening. This concludes the advance briefing for agenda item I2.